If you're a victim of domestic violence, I advocate for contacting the police. But do you know why I can say that with such ease? One of the reasons is the color of my skin. All communities have a very different experience with the police. But hang on, let's start with the various reasons why many people don't contact the police. Sometimes contacting the police makes the situation more dangerous. You call the police, you accuse them of assault. There's no evidence, and so the police leave. Now you're alone with your abuser, and they're pissed off. The next reason? Guilt. An abuser will victimize themselves and say that you're ruining their life by contacting the police. An abuser's basic MO is to blame you for the reaction to the abuse. It's never their fault. Most abusers don't just say, "You'll ruin my life." They beg, they cry, they plead with you not to ruin their life. They make you think that they're really going to change this time. It's common for people to think that guilt is the number one reason. Studies have actually been done on this exact topic, and do you know what it finds? Being physically prevented from accessing the phone is the number one reason, and that is tied with threats of additional violence. And victims know that these threats are incredibly real. Some people don't call because they have previous negative experiences with the police. According to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, a survey showed 80% of sexual assault victims are somewhat or extremely afraid of contacting the police. Victims often just don't trust the police. You risk losing privacy, being discriminated against, retaliation from your abuser, police brutality towards them, being victim blamed, and putting your children in danger. A study done by RAIN shows that for every 1,000 sexual assaults, 995 perpetrators walk free. And for clarity, this is where there is evidence of the assault. It's unfortunate, but as a whole, the police are simply not well enough trained on domestic violence. The police officers who show up often can't tell who's the perpetrator. And that's not because of mutual abuse. I don't even believe mutual abuse exists. In an abusive relationship, there's always an imbalance of power. One study, admittedly a small one, even shows that the police were prone to treat the victim with skepticism. Now, I do want to talk about race, but I will first recognize again, yes, I am white, and I have no intention of speaking for people of color. Studies show that minority victims have more fear. They're subjecting themselves and their abuser to a justice system that is racially and culturally biased. Earlier, I talked about police brutality against the victim, but if your abuser is a person of color, your fear that they will be harmed in the process is heightened. Lastly, police officers themselves have a real domestic abuse problem. Several studies have been done, albeit not recently. The families of police officers experience way more domestic violence than that of the general population. So relatively speaking, you have a high chance of calling an abuser to protect you from your abuser.